So now, see, it's actually putting a message out to people. It's live. Well, hello out there. We're behind the scenes getting ready to put together another timeline of success. And tonight, we're in Modesto, California. This is live. Carmen, you look tired. What time did you get up this morning?
I was up at 5.
Well, Carmen is the consummate entrepreneur, but he also has been the mayor of Modesto.
Incidentally, I finished all 4 years.
That's another story. That could be a story for timelines.
That's fine.
And he should have had another 4. But anyway, so we're going to go live. We've already tested the equipment. We got our field operation here with for the people behind the scenes. Remember not to put these things on these tables. And we're going to we've already rehearsed sort of a start. Our sound looks really good on the RL5. It's good up there. Hopefully it's going in like it was before off the system. It's kind of neat. This is one of the first time we've actually put the mics into the live broadcast. We were using equipment there. That reminds me, I really should check this just to see if it's set up correctly.
You think this light?
No, leave the light just like that. That's good. Let me do this again. System preferences. I'm just going to look here for a second. You know what? I'm happy I checked this because we have the other speakers. So, yep, I didn't have this plugged in. We should have better sound here in a second. So this is like truly behind the scenes. It didn't plug in the speakers here. Our speakers are in there, and there are there. So we should have much better sound here in a second. It'll be coming through the dynamic mics. This is really classical, isn't it, Carmen? This is like grassroots media.
It's intriguing. I haven't learned the ones we've got right now.
Welcome to Bluff TV. Bluff is my TV station, Bluff TV.
Oh, okay.
Bluff stands for bottom line up front. We could also be a Bluff in cards, too. You can get there by blufftv.com or bluff, BLUFFTV.net, blufftv.com. You can spell Bluff just about any way you want to spell it. You'll make it there. So we're here. All our systems are up. You know, the key is, for me, is to remember to punch the button here. When I push that button, we're going to be live on the radio. Not live, but we're recording, getting ready for iHeart, Stitcher Radio, and of course iTunes. So we're behind the scenes. This is kind of fun, Carmen. You know, I've got to knock out one of these a day, so I try to do 3 or 4 in one day. Then I edit them, and then I do all my work ahead of time. So in 2 days, I knock out a whole week's worth of shows.
This is really intriguing.
So anyway, we're gonna start timelines. This is how we start.
Okay.
Carmen Sabatino, welcome to Timelines of Success.
Thank you, Bill.
We're here. Where are we tonight?
We're here in Modesto, California, at the Mediterranean Marketing Group.
Yeah, Mediterranean Market.
After hours.
After hours. What time did you get up this morning?
Oh, about 5:30.
Well, if you can't guess, Carmen owns a restaurant, very good restaurateur in Modesto, California. He's really a great example of timelines of success, of the evolution of your life. Tell me how you started. Tell me how you got to where you are here on this successful restaurant in Modesto.
Well, this isn't the first restaurant I've had. I started in restaurants in 1969. In the meantime, I taught school for 30 years. And then I ran for office many, many times.
Right.
And then I got elected. So I became mayor of Modesto in 1999. Served with you for a few years.
Not just elected, but actually in mayor, which is a good spot. I'm going to try to fix this mic here. So that's a good example. Now, as a school teacher, what did you teach?
History, government, and economics.
I'm going to hold 1 second here. We're going to do a 2-minute pause. Oh, shoot. You know what? We're going to start over. We're going to start over. Let me move this back. This thing does not want to hold up there. We're going to start completely over. So one thing about the radio, you can't start over on this. This is behind the scenes, guys. This is real behind the scenes. I'm adjusting the equipment, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it goes right away, sometimes it doesn't. We're going to start over.
Okay.
Carmen, welcome to Timelines of Success.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you being here.
It's so late, I can't even talk. We're in Modesto, California. We're doing a face-to-face. I started this morning in Reno at 9 o'clock with a face-to-face.
You've had a tougher day than I have, but
And tonight we're in the Mediterranean Market and Grill on McHenry. You've been up since what time?
5:30.
5:30. Wow. So tell us about how you got here as a successful restaurateur.
I started teaching in 1968. My first restaurant I opened in 1969. So I've been in the restaurant business for now longer than I taught. I taught 30 years. I taught government and economics and world history. And
you know what, Carmen? We got to start again. Carmen, welcome to Timelines of Success.
Thank you.
It's a late night.
It is a late night.
I started early and you started early.
We both did.
Here we are in Modesto, California.
And at the Mediterranean Market and Grill.
Yep. Tell us how you got here. And
I got here.
Restaurant.
I've been in the restaurant business since 1969. I taught years in high school for 30 years. And I can't count, I think this is my 5th restaurant. And that's about the number of times I ran for city council and mayor.
And you won.
And I won on the 5th try.
You became mayor. Very good mayor.
I became mayor. You know, I've been attempting to write a book, though, and I've been doing some sociological investigations of the city of Modesto. And, you know, I came here in 1955 from Chicago, and I noticed there were only 35,000 people here.
Wow.
The dynamics then was that it was a close-knit town. There was a small group of people, politically you appreciate this, there was a small group of people who controlled the city. They all went to school together, they went to their weddings, they went to funerals. And then somewhere along the line, developers came to town and the battle started as to who was going to control the city. And learning all about this as I studied that, I truly understood what a shock it was that I was elected in 1999. Because they woke up on Wednesday morning and said, what happened?
Right, I'd been in office 2 years as a city council member.
Right.
When you got elected.
And if you hadn't come to my defense on some stuff, I would have gotten elected.
Well, you know, there's a hit piece against you, I remember, that wasn't quite accurate. And I remember I put out a simple voicemail, and it worked. That was Ted Hilliard really put that together.
As a side.
It's a 200,000 person city, too.
Yeah. As a side, the interesting thing in there is that one of the hit pieces got out, and Karen Matthews, who was the county clerk at the time, afterwards told me that when that hit piece went out, women were calling in and saying, I want to vote for Mr. Sabation. It was a backlash.
Right. We reversed. We also put the message out. We helped reverse it.
Right.
It was a backlash, and it was just the timing is everything in politics. But you know what? This is about your timeline. When you got here in '55, how old were you?
18.
So you went to school. Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Lindblom High School in Chicago, but I went here at the junior college for 2 years, and then I went to a variety of schools. I went to UCLA, the University of Illinois. I went to DePaul for a little while.
So you went back east?
I went back home. I went back to Chicago. I even applied at Northwestern, but they giggled when they saw my GPA. So, but I came here and I graduated in 1968 from California State College in Turtle Rock. Now it's called University. So that was that's
okay. We just had people walk in, the restaurant's closed, and it's a very beautiful restaurant we're in right now. If I could describe it, the lights are on, the wine is out, the tables are all set up for tomorrow.
6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's our biggest day of the year.
And this is probably the best place to eat in Modesto these
Absolutely.
days. It's really good.
Absolutely.
The food is amazing. Mediterranean Market and Grill.
And it's Italian food.
And
I can't get away from the Mediterranean. People keep stopping in here and skewers.
Well, it's a Mediterranean. It's Italian Mediterranean.
Yeah,
it's real Italian food.
Western Mediterranean.
Yeah, I've lived in Italy, and it's real. It's just that real flavor. It's very good. Yeah. So, Carmen, going back in your timeline, So you went into teaching. Did you get a job teaching right away, and where did you teach?
I taught 4 years at Downey High School here, and then a new high school opened, Bayer High School, and I taught 26 years there, and I retired in 1998.
That's real commitment. 30 years.
Yeah.
Now you started a restaurant while you were a teacher, right?
Yeah. I had the Village Wine Shop in McKinley Village. I moved downtown to the city limit, and then I opened a Mediterranean Market and Grill on H Street.
That was there for a long time.
That was there for a long time. And we've been here for 9 years.
Now, I know you've always had the same theme, but you've constantly evolved, and this appears to be by far the most successful operation. And since I started Modesto in 1990.
Well, I have 29 employees.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of employees.
July 1st was a serious date with the increase in minimum wage. But I have to tell you, I got a crew of people here, Bill, who I guess I was interviewed on another radio station the other morning, and it came out about, like, we have the best breakfast in town.
Right. Well, you've always had the best breakfast.
But we do, because I've got guys back there that if you order an egg, they will make it just the way you want it.
Right. Now, you've always had you've always had good food.
Thank you.
All the time.
Yeah.
Now you're open for dinner now?
We're open for dinner 7 nights a week.
7 nights a week. How long have you been doing that?
We just started that last month.
Wow. So you were open on like special nights before, weren't you?
We started out opening on Thursday and Friday night, and that didn't work out because we weren't in people's flight patterns. They'd forget that those were, actually it was Friday and Saturday night. And so they'd forget we were open.
Right. So what's the hardest thing about running a restaurant?
People.
People. You know, I've heard that before, and when I went back to anthropology, that the professors were saying the most difficult thing is people because they're complicated.
There are so many areas of I don't know how to describe it. One of the things in any business, incidentally, my father had a bar in the south side of Chicago, and he worked 24/7.
Right. You work a lot of hours in this business.
And we were talking about theft. I got great employees here, but my dad always said, you can never slow it down. And he said you can never stop it, but you have to slow it down. So literally, you have to be here, and it's just the nature of the business. There's a front door and back door. But I'm not too concerned with that because these 29 people I've had have made this a real success. We're going to be $1 million enterprise.
How are the new laws affecting you? The minimum wage went up, of course, and you have tips, but how about the new healthcare laws?
Well, in fact, we just had our health inspection last week. They are onerous.
No, that's a state health inspection and county health inspection.
Right. And they are onerous, but I guess they're necessary. People have made an industry out of teaching employees how to pass their certification. So the government has gotten very much involved, and I strongly suspect that, and you and I guess, have the same feeling about government, but a lot of these government programs are designed to make money for government and not to make things better for society.
Quantify, Carmen and I, he's a Democrat, I'm a Republican, but really, we're business guys. We like to know how to run businesses. And we're really on the same page of music. When he was a mayor, and I was a vice mayor for a while, we were mayor,
right,
and I was city councilman most of the time, it was really refreshing to see how Carmen took care of the budget, kept the city going, established a budget. It really worked well under you. It's amazing how well we did under those 4 years.
We stopped giving money away. And
to special interests.
Right. A lot of quote businessmen, they were only good businessmen because they were able to politically get their way.
Yeah. You got to be fair, consistent to all.
I was getting back to the day I was elected, and The Wednesday morning, I realized must have been a terrible shock for the aristocracy in the city. That group I was talking about.
Right.
Here, they woke up Wednesday morning and they had elected a Catholic Italian Democrat from Chicago.
Right.
And their question was, how did it happen?
Well, I don't know about the Chicago thing. That's kind of scary.
Oh, well.
No.
Actually, Chicago's a great city.
It is.
Stay out of the South Side.
Right. And I've spent some time in Chicago. Good restaurants there. That's for sure.
Right. Oh, fantastic.
Good eats.
And I plagiarize a lot of stuff from restaurants.
You know,
that's how I got through college.
You do have a lot of the feel too of Chicago in here in this restaurant with the lighting and just the ambiance. So, as mayor, how did being mayor affect running a business? Now, you'd finished up teaching about that, hadn't you?
I retired in '98.
That was before you became mayor?
Before I became mayor.
When you became mayor? 99? They had these weird off elections here.
Right.
Because in 99 mayor, then you retired. Now you just had the business and being mayor. So how did being mayor affect your business?
While I was mayor for the first 2 years, it was fine. But it was tough finishing a 4-year term. Because, quite frankly, we poked a lot of very important people in the eye. And we expected that they would poke you back.
Well, you lose some clientele. It's political in nature.
It's worse than that.
And plus, you didn't do any favors or favoritism, things like that. I know, but just because you go in the restaurant doesn't mean you're going to get a vote.
No.
I hate to say it that way, but politics is a unique thing. You do it for a passion. Now, why did you become mayor? What drove you to do that?
I have to tell you,
you're a teacher, restaurant.
Once again, I remember a favorite question my father had for me, and it was, why do you do it? And I wish I knew the answer. I wish I had a reason why I did it, why I do anything. And I guess it's sort of like, remember flypaper where you just couldn't get rid of it?
Oh, you know, I was in Afghanistan, and we had flypaper all over the place. It's
so
nasty.
It's so legal here. I know,
it's
but
nasty.
It's tough to get rid of it. You try and throw it away.
You hang them up, and it's nasty stuff.
Yeah, it is. So it's just difficult to get away from.
No, you get a passion. It gets in you. You have a passion. You make a difference. I'll tell you what, though. For me, being on council, I like being on council. I can make a difference, but it was brutal on my design build business because I lost half my clientele because I tell them if I do any work on any of your projects anywhere in the state, I have to step down if you do anything here in Modesto. Right. So they would just not use me because they know that would be a bad vote. And I'll tell you what, I would vote based on the principle of what's effective for free markets and the good of the people. You know, that was fair and consistent. But if someone knows that I can't vote, it's like a no vote. So did you ever have that problem?
The vote,
and plus the time, it took a lot of time.
There are 2 votes that are outstanding in my mind. One I'm proud of. The other, were you? Yeah, I think you were on the council when we voted to give 3 at 50.
Yeah, you know what? That was absolutely a mistake at the time.
The worst vote
well, you know, we were totally. Here's the thing: we were totally funded. We were super funded in our fund, in our retirement fund for public safety. 3% or 50 means public safety was getting 3% in retirement 50, up to like 85% of whatever monies they made the last year, and they could do over time. And wait, that is a downfall for all of California. That happened throughout the state. And when I was asked what was my worst vote, and that was the vote because it wasn't good for the finances of the city to do that. But here's the thing is, back then, fire and police, I remember police specifically, they were still paying 9% into the retirement fund. Mm-hmm. Later on, they didn't get in trouble for years later, but because they ran out of money, California and the cities, they were not paying anything into it. So the city was picking up 100% of retirement, plus they couldn't, it wasn't funded at the level it needed to be to pay out the endowment. So, yeah, that was a bad vote.
Well, you and I think, I know you spoke out against it. I didn't want to do it, but that's no excuse.
I voted for it.
I voted for it, too. It was a 7-0 vote.
Yeah, that was, in retrospect, that was the worst vote we ever made.
It wouldn't have been any good if you and I voted the way
no, you always vote based on principle.
No,
but but the bottom line is, I look back and I tell people that was the worst vote I never made. I'll tell you what. Later on in my years later, the firefighters gave me a hell of a hard time. The firefighters probably did more damage to the finances of the city than any other special interest.
People don't realize.
I hate to say that. I love firefighters,
Yeah,
by the way. Anybody who risks their lives or puts it forward.
The average person doesn't realize we give 80% of our budget now to public safety. How much more? How much more can we afford? And you know, we ought to separate the rank and file cop and fireman with the union representatives. The union
Right, there it is. Yeah.
The union has three missions: one, better pay; two, more benefits; and three, job protection.
No, that's correct.
That's what they want.
You know what? That's correct. But a young firefighter or a police officer that puts their life on the line, you know, I have tremendous respect. But when the union comes in, and throughout California, even Nevada, they have astronomical pay on some sides. I think battalion chiefs in Reno, where I'm from, are about $250,000. That's a lot of money.
We ought to talk about our success.
You know,
our success is the no unmeasured X.
Right.
The unions in this city, they raised $178,000, conducted a campaign to convince people, and to vote for a 1% sales tax. They were lying to us. They said it was only 1 cent.
For the performing arts center.
Well, no, this
no, it was X. That was
X. This would have given
Measure F.
Yeah,
that was a different case.
But Measure X. I mean, I know you came along with the sign that says
F no. Never have a Measure F because all you have to do is go F no.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
F no on the sign.
No. But what it amounted to is they wanted the people to give this city council, 7 people, $26 million a year to spend any way they wanted.
Right.
And
why would we were out of office?
Right. It was just last year.
Yeah.
And the question then is, why would you do that? And why would the union spend $178,000? Because they expected that money.
Right. That was an increase in taxes. You know, bottom line is, this is what you get when you get the mayor and a former city council and vice mayor together. It's supposed to be about politics success. It's supposed to be about you. And we're drifting into politics because we were passionate about it. And you know what? And the other thing, too, is you're still elected. Even though you're not the mayor, you still carry...
I do. I have a blog talk radio show called The Backstory. It's on at 11:30 every morning. We have Blog Talk Radio. And Monday morning at 11:30, I'll have Supervisor Jim DiMartini on.
Jim's a good man.
And, we're going to have some questions for him.
He's been around a long time. He's got a very successful...
Three terms.
That's a long time as a supervisor. It's
going on 12 years. He wants to retire.
Well, you know, he's done his duty. And but, you know, let me ask a question. As long as we're talking about politics.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say you have another restaurateur down the street. Would you recommend that he run for city council or she?
No. Well, you know, it's become a blood sport.
Yeah, especially here in the Central Valley.
In this Central Valley, it's become a blood sport.
This is a tough place.
And
it's low pay, and you're working a lot of hours.
And how much can you do?
You can make a difference. I believe for a short period of time you can make a difference.
All right, I'll talk to you now about the vote I'm most proud of. As you recall, we have built in this city the Gallo Performing Arts. They came to the city council and they wanted us to give them $15 million. The county had already done it.
Right now the county has rolled over, even though the citizens voted against it.
All right.
So they gave the money after the citizens of Vanessa voted not to do any special.
Yeah, $15 million. So I did. I had a conversation with Ernest Gallo in my office, and I explained to him that we didn't have $15 million. And he said, "Why am I not surprised?" Well, he knew. I mean, the man's a businessman. I don't think he really wanted to go with this. But the upshot of all of this is that had we given them the $15 million, this city would have been bankrupt.
Well, even though we have 200,000, it definitely would have put the pressure. And I'll tell you what, we did the right thing because it's really not the job of government to build these sorts of things. Public safety is a job, like we're talking. Public safety is the first job of government, roads, streets, and infrastructure. And that's what we focused on. But, yeah, I did the same vote. It's a good vote. But you know what? We lost a lot of voters. We lost a lot of people within the city. who really wanted that performing arts center. But the thing is, it really amazes me is you just can't have everything because you don't have the money. You got to do first things first, and you have to trust your elected officials that they're going to do the best for you. In that case,
there's a penalty that goes along with decisions that you make when you deprive people of money as a public official. And the tradition in the city was that the newly elected mayor would give his first speech to the Rotary Club downtown.
right?
And so instead of doing that, I spoke at the convention center the night before.
Everyone. I think everyone's.
We had about 300 people.
Since you, I think it was public set up. I think every mayor's done that since, haven't they?
And the other mayors have gone to the high schools where they could have a captured audience. But
Right,
in any event,
the state of the city.
and it was a great night. The next day, Tuesday, I went to Rotary. You could feel the cold air. I mean, it was just. I gave the speech, and Bill, that was 13 years ago. I have never been invited to Rotary since.
Well, I think the city's probably changed, and they've seen the hard times too throughout the state and the finances, and people do appreciate some of the good work you did. Carmen, this is really about your timeline, so let's wrap up this first part. Ron, you've been a teacher for 30 years. You built a great restaurant. Just those two things alone were enough. Plus, you're a mayor, and you're still active, and you're still very active in the community. What's next on the horizon?
I'd like to do something about presbyterial use.
Well, that's it. We'll get into that
Okay.
in the last section here. But, you've had a successful career at your restaurant. You should feel really good. So going in, we're going to finish up this first section. We're going to go to the bottom line upfront questions. I love these questions. Now I'm going to ask Carmen, are you a Mac or a PC?
Oh, PC.
It's a PC. We just run as PC.
I know.
You don't do bad. You do all the accounting. Now, how much computer accounting? Do you do all your own accounting in-house?
Yeah, but then I just turn the computer over to the accountant.
They do the magic, but you put all the numbers in every
We just
day.
put in the numbers.
Right. We do the same thing in our business. So, but you do need a PC to do that for the most part.
Right.
And also, what's your favorite technology? Of all the technologies that you've been across.
It's I'm now using because of success. I'm using a program called iConstituent, which has mass mailings of 10,000.
Wow.
And
what are you using it for?
I send out a newsletter every day.
Okay. Okay, you do it online.
I
newsletter.
do it online, and for years I refused to learn the technology, and somebody else had to do it for me. I mastered it.
So does that help your restaurant too? Get more clientele? More awareness?
I can do that. Yeah, I can use that email list for the restaurant.
I think it's gone full cycle. Where when you're a mayor, I think it actually hurt you a little bit. It slowed down your clientele. I think your clientele since you've been mayor has really gone up substantially. So that I can see when I come
there
in.
was an article written about how I won that race, and one of the paragraphs was that the next morning after I was elected, you couldn't get a seat. So for a while there was that blush of, but then after a while, one of the things, I can't use it as a commercial, but one of the people that like to poke me in the eye would say, why would you eat at that SOB's restaurant? And he said, because the food is good. I thought that'd be a great commercial.
That was good. I remember. Yeah, you had. That's one thing. You did have some diehard opponents.
Oh,
that would come in.
absolutely.
It was definitely a place to have coffee.
Yeah.
And you should always charge people for coffee.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that too much.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in office. I'm not that.
Yeah. But anyway, so what's your favorite quote? And this is going to be interesting here, folks.
As you know, and let's get it out of the way, within 2 years after I was elected mayor, I was charged with 12 felonies. I was offered a deal that all 12 of them could go away for $4,700. And I refused to do that, and we went to trial. And they lost. And but the quote that came to mind, or came across my desk. And this is when it's by the late Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson, written opinion on the dangers of prosecutorial abuse. He said, quote, "Therein is the most dangerous power of the prosecutor, that he will pick people that he thinks he should get, rather than cases that need to be prosecuted. With the law books filled with a great assortment of crimes, a prosecutor stands a fair chance of finding at least a technical violation of some act on the part of almost anyone. In such a case, it is not a question of discovering the commission of a crime and then looking for the man who has committed it. It is a question of picking the man and then searching the law books or putting investigators to work to pin some offense on him." What I experienced, though, was simply that this county spent $685,000 to get rid of a mayor that they no longer want.
So those charges were brought up right before you
For re-election.
re-election. That came up right before re-election. They brought those up, and you fought them, and you won, but it was after re-election.
Oh yeah, it was.
I thought it was crazy.
It was 2 years later.
That was insane.
But you know, I'm not the only one. There's public officials right up and down the line. So there's an expression in the sheriff's department, it's APES, and it means another political emergency, which means that law enforcement was sent out to help their friends and punch their enemies.
You know, that's a rough case. I don't know the whole story, but I do know that I admired you that you stood up, that you fought those cases, because if you would have lost, that could have been
2 years.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you didn't have, for a nominal amount of money, would that have been a plea bargain for that money? What would happen?
Well, no, in order for the case to go away, the deal was $4,700.
What? Just real fast, this really is, timeline is about your successes.
Well, that's a success.
That is a success. You fought it, you won. It is a success in life. But if you don't mind, go into a little more detail. What were the charges? Do you remember what the key charges were? I don't remember exactly. I remember some of them were crazy.
They claimed that I didn't report $3 million in assets. Mindy thought I was holding out.
Is that really a claim?
Yeah. The affidavit. I had the affidavit. 135. Oh, this is the best one.
Carmen doesn't have $3 million.
No.
Assets,
no. In fact, one of the guys.
Unless you're hiding it well in Chicago.
One of the guys they deposed said he wouldn't lend me $5,000. But you know, it's an interesting thing how ridiculous some of these charges were. One was that I was getting free television. Now that's $38.
That's one of the 12 charges?
Yeah, $38 a month. I had television at the restaurant. That was $78. You would have thought I'd allow myself to be bribed.
That was our friends at Comcast. We're pretty tough on Comcast. No,
Yeah.
excuse me, I don't want to mention your name. I'm going to bleep that out.
No, don't.
I mean,
I'll tell you what,
first of all, it wasn't Comcast at the time.
I know.
Whatever it was. But cable companies inherently are hooked into cities. And there's a story. I've got a friend back in Kansas who's actually going to run for a council because of a cable company.
Yeah. Well, in the affidavit, it said that I was getting free television. And it also said that my mother got free television. Well, my mother died in 1994. They claimed that she got free television in 1999.
Right.
So I'm sure she's getting free television.
I remember there were a bunch of crazy cases, something about the food. Now, wasn't the food an issue, too, in the city? Remember the catering? I do remember that. It's been a long time. And the war had broken out, too, so I was kind of busy.
Yeah, when I refused the deal, they went to get another charge, and they charged that I was providing food to the council before our meetings and making a profit.
And these were all dropped.
Well, yeah, well,
it wasn't you.
Yeah, it was.
The company was using. It
was stupid, but you know.
But you know what? That's politics, folks. And if you're going to mix politics, have your own business, it's a tough business.
You shouldn't do it.
But you do it for passion.
Look, even if
we need good people in politics.
Let's put it this way: you run for election, even if you win 60-40, You've alienated 40%.
That's true. You know, there's the old saying that eventually you torque off one too many people by a vote that will get you.
I know for a fact that I torqued off the galaxies by not giving them that.
You know, when I actually met Ernest in private dinner for keeping council, I never felt that he would ever not back what we were doing, and he didn't really. To me, it's someone else in the Performing Arts Center. I don't think it was Ernest, but that's really.
Oh, no,
up to the
listen,
family.
he's the only guy that invited me to dinner after I was back.
Right. The organization has evolved, and for those who don't know it, Gallo has really provided a lot of quality and a lot of jobs here in Modesto. Been a great service for the community building up, but they've gone from 40 acres to a $2 billion company, very successful family. So they've done a lot of good too. And this has evolved and generations evolved and keeping it public, private. I mean, we could go and talk about all sorts of things, but that's not the purpose of the show. We could talk
Sure, go
about
ahead.
football. We could talk about baseball stadiums and special interests. Those are amazing. They're subsidized, and that's another case. But that was before our time with baseball stadium.
Yeah.
But bottom line, this could actually go on politics, success, or timelines. But we apologize on timelines. We're going off track a little bit. But Carmen, that's a good quote. It's a unique quote, probably one we'll never have again on our show, because it doesn't usually go that way. But let me get to the final question. What's the best advice you've ever received from anyone?
I guess I go back to my father, and his advice was, don't make your own mistakes.
Don't make your own mistakes.
So look at other people,
Right.
see
Learn
what
from other
mistakes they make. And the other thing that I came up with, I think, for myself, and I did this when I was mayor, was don't ask a question you don't know the answer to.
Interesting. Don't ask a question you don't know an answer to.
Yes.
Well, I ask a lot of questions.
I know, but if you know the answer, you know when they're lying to you.
Well, you know, you're always good about that. I've got to go back to one last thing. Actually, we got to go back to the book too. This is crazy. We still do have X-Fest downtown.
Yes.
And this is crazy. And then we're talking about the vendors, and a lot of beer goes to that place, and the city gets a small amount of money on the beer, I think, or something like that. Carmen asked a question that I couldn't believe he understood, and it was about the beer situation and about the revenues, and you figured out that we were getting taken or something. I remember. I don't remember all the details, but I was pretty amazed. Only you, a restaurateur, would understand what was going on in a big event.
We were renting the whole downtown for peanuts, you know.
No, this is huge. All the streets and it's all.
Oh yeah, they fence in the whole city.
Yeah, it's
not the whole city.
It's a neat event. You know what? They do a good job.
That's another thing. I know you've been downtown as far as.
No, I know it's. I know the redevelopment agency. It doesn't look too.
It's gone.
It's gone. That's it. That's sad. No, unfortunately, California cities, inner cities like this, are really under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah. So it's tough for an entrepreneur to go downtown. Actually,
inner cities are a challenge anywhere in the United States. And Modesto is just like any other city. It's definitely a challenge. Land planning. Well, we did this for 6 years. It's a tough balance. No matter, there's no right, there's no wrong. There's principles you can follow. What I would say is you're better off helping people level the buildings and then let private sector build them back up without too much government.
Yeah.
Make it easy to level them. Keep your standards high.
But you know, here we are. Let's just current events as a timeline here. There's a building here in downtown Modesto that somebody wants to buy, and we won't use names. That's okay too. And the city is just giving them $450,000 worth of free parking. Well, what about the next person that wants to move downtown?
Yeah, this is crazy. No, this was not meant to be a reunion of politics, but another crazy thing that happened in government, the county and the city both sold the same parking lot.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that was one of the first challenges, I think, when I was on council. I said, how did this happen?
I couldn't believe it. They sold it to the double trees.
Yeah, and so they had to buy it back. This is government. Unbelievable. That cost the taxpayer a few dollars. It was amazing. And I'm sure happy. I literally like being a city council and vice mayor. It was a great experience. And now that I'm out, it's kind of nice to be out. I'll probably never run again for a city councilman any place in the city.
You know, it's an interesting thing because you say, well, why did you run so many times? For me, it wasn't. That's a timeline of events. It wasn't whether you won or not. It went hand in hand with teaching. You tried to get people aware of what was going on in the city, and that's what I'm doing now with that story, because we truly have a newspaper. Of course, newspapers are having a tough time. I'm not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they can no longer do investigative reporting because they lack investigators. They've gone from 600 employees to down to under 70. That's quite a hit for an industry, but like we said, that's happening everywhere. And new technology is coming forward to replace the newspaper.
Right. Here in Modesto, the newspaper is really taking a beating. Now, in Reno, it hasn't quite made it there yet. Reno's a different type of town. I would say it's about 10 years behind California because we're sort of isolated over the hill, and we're sort of self-rule organization. Plus, there are a lot of people who retire out of California and other cities, build big, beautiful homes, and go there to retire because there's no state income tax. So we have an older clientele who still likes the newspaper. So the newspaper is surviving a bit. We're in the real estate business. Here we don't use papers for anything hardly in real estate. Over there, they still do.
Yeah.
They still do over on the other side of the hill. So there's differences in culture and areas and demographics.
I would find very little benefit in advertising with the newspaper.
Hey, Carmen, we left off an important question on the bluff questions, last one. What's your favorite book?
Truman.
Truman?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I'm too tired to go through it all.
Just tell me a little bit about it.
It's just that the history of his presidency, all of the incidents that happened, the courage it must have taken for him to decide to drop the bomb. It was absolutely the right decision, but it had to be made.
He did some other things that people don't realize. Marshall resigned as Secretary of State, and Truman stood up for Israel. People don't realize some of the other things happened. I actually had the privilege to work and do research in the Truman Library.
Really?
When I was back at Leavenworth as a lieutenant colonel, I actually did research there on a program that I was working on for overseas. And I got to see the declassified documents. They've been, after 50 years, they're declassified. Just an amazing opportunity. But he really was an interesting guy. I watched his evolution. He was a captain in basically the National Guard during the World War I, and a field artilleryman. That was good experience for him to later become president. But as he evolved, he started in local politics, built his way up. They put him in as senator because they thought they could control him. And maybe they could a little bit, because if you look at back then at Kansas City and the state, it was very special interest driven back in his 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Very special interest driven. And then they put him as vice president because they thought that, I'll tell you what, when he became president, the buck stopped here.
Yeah, I did.
And he really stood up. In all those years of taking his time to get to be president, he became one of the best presidents we've had. He made hard decisions and maybe saved our freedom.
And wasn't very popular.
No, when he first got out, he wasn't. But in retrospect, he was.
The other thing that was interesting.
He got reelected.
Yes, I know. But the other thing that was interesting was that he never accepted any money for speech. I mean, he went back to Missouri.
He did not have much money. He lived a very humble life.
Right.
He lived up the block, up the street. I've been in his house. A very small little house he lived in after being president. Very humble. And I really don't think back then they had much retirement for the president. I don't think he had much at all.
He certainly wasn't getting honorariums for speeches like that.
But he's got a beautiful library. It's just a few blocks from his home, and it's been maintained and built up over the years too. I spent a lot of time there. It's a good library. They've just redone it, and my kids really like it. When I have them back there visiting, my kids love it. It's a good place to do research. They have a good library, good research center, and the documents that are 50 years old that are unclassified are just amazing, especially about the Marshall Plan and after World War II and some of the things that happened. Well, Carmen, we've really gone off track, but this is not your normal timelines of success interview. But I'm going to try to put it all up. I mean, we really let it out here tonight. We talked about some tough times in government that we see, and I know it came from the heart. So let's tie it all together. What do you do in your off time? That's a tough question because I've known you doing nothing but work.
I just hang
You work
out.
all the time.
I don't work here. I mean, I hang out here. I get to see a lot of people.
Oh, this is hard work. I know that running a restaurant with 27 employees,
29.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot when you work all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're a mayor, you were doing double work. You're teaching. You're the hard-working guy.
Well, I appreciate it.
But what do you do when you're not working?
Let's see.
I remember council.
Yeah.
That's another story. We had the longest council meetings in the history of Modesto.
You know what?
But you didn't fall asleep.
It was
there,
called no, but I mean
some of our committee meetings, I think,
it was called the best show in town. And,
yeah, that's
and
true.
it was the best show in town because people came.
And that's what, yeah.
And they watched us on television.
Yeah, well, you did. I think
participated.
We were live all the time, and it was open government. It definitely was open government. There's nothing that wasn't open in that government.
Well, it's not often that this whole principle about asking a question only when you know the answer. It's worked twice for me now. When I was mayor, I asked the CEO of Stanislaus County a question, and he answered it. And it caused his
I remember that.
caused his eventual dismissal.
Yep.
And then we had a senator here, Senator Feinstein, came to town. And I asked her a question. And she didn't tell the truth either.
Was that when you were mayor?
No, that was during the water fight. We fought the...
I remember she came... I've been so good. Since 9/11, I've had a crazy schedule.
It had to be last year.
Okay. I know she used to come here from time to time.
Yeah, but she came here, and what she really wanted to do at the time was sell her water.
Oh, San Francisco,
we had very important people, including the newspaper, who beat us up for opposing the water.
That's hard to believe. You know, that's one thing about this area. Our water rights for this area in town go back to MID and TID in 1905, the earliest systems going in California for the situation. And we're blessed to have a lot of water in the city. I know that. And rights. And that's one of the things that helps Central Valley and this area. People south of here don't have that same amount of water. That's a tough one. You know, at times when government powers, you know, this is public, private, this is a tough area. Water's tough. You know, they fight over water in the West.
I know.
That's another tough one. You know,
our problem is simply that, you know, farmers need water, business and residential, they need water, and the environment needs water. All three, but there isn't enough. And so how do you say, well, forget the environment. Well, you know, you can't let salt water come in the stockage.
Right. You got to keep. There's a lot of history of water. You got to keep water going down into the delta, to the salt water doesn't come back up in the ocean.
That's right. And that's it's not about the fish. You know, if you flush out the delta, the fish will be all right.
Now, for you guys who are thinking about coming to politics, after listening to this, you'll never want to go to politics or business. I'll probably put it quite. This is not your normal timelines. This is bizarre.
No, this is
worldwide. You know, we have people over in Europe that listening to these shows, in England and Australia. This is local politics. I think you'll find politics similar in different places.
Well, I'm just going to try and hook up the backstory with you pretty soon. We can do that.
By the way, one last thing I'm going to say in closing, that there's no doubt in my mind the hardest political job anywhere is being mayor of a city. And mayor of a city of 200,000 is a tough job. That's the toughest job around. So my hat's off to you, Carmen.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
That.
And let's see what we need to finish up here. So for our timeliners, what's the most important takeaway from this long timeline of success we have now? in your restaurant. And by the way, you had someone come in, one of your
A
friends.
good friend of mine is
You have a little TV in the background,
watching some TV.
so it's nice.
Yeah.
So
I'll introduce you after.
I will do. Yeah. And I know what I have to head back over to Hill tonight.
Okay.
So what's the takeaway here? What's the takeaway that anybody should take away from your interview about your life?
Well, you just got to keep trying.
I love it. You got to keep trying.
You got to keep trying because if you lay down, you'll die.
You know what? You look younger now than you did when you were there.
Okay.
You know, you do. You look great. I come back, you look great. I'm getting old. Been off and on.
You're in pretty good shape. You're not as good shape as when you got out of service.
Oh, that 5 years back in.
Yeah,
the last 5 years. You know, one last thing. You know, I brought my family over to Reno when we left the city. I truly miss the people of the city. But what I love about being over the hills, I love the mountains, the rivers, the creeks, all the activities. I mean, I miss Modesto, but my kids still like it back there. I brought my daughter back to go on a trip tonight for her friends. But I do miss the people. I enjoy the mountains. I'm kind of a mountain guy, but I miss the people. But you know what I don't miss? I don't miss the politics.
No. And in fact, I just thought of something. You asked me what I do besides work. I'm going to take a day off, and I'm going to drive up to Reno and have dinner.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we're going to go to the Stone House, my favorite place.
All right.
We'll go breakfast, too.
All right, that'll work.
Good. You know, it's a lot like, when you go there, I said, man, it looks like my restaurant. It's a little smaller, but and if you go in the morning, it's spring or summer, you can see the mountains and the hills.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Carmen, thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys. We're still live.
Thank you very much.
And for my firefighters friends, I know we're off the air now, but I just want to say that when it comes to unions, it's the job of your elected officials to make sure that you balance the budget, that you do the right thing. But for the young firefighter or even the old firefighter or the police officer out in the streets, I thank you for being there. You do put your life on the line. So it's not about you, but it's about managing the city and doing the right thing. Because if we run out of money, we're all in a bad situation.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks again. Good night.
Carmen, this is not normal.
Well,
this is not normal. This is crazy. This might be a big episode here. When people hear this around.
I've got to tell you something.
We're still live. Say goodbye.
If
my wife just called me and she could go live right now and see that I'm still here, and I will be back tonight though. I'll drink a cup of coffee because I'm used to working late with this job.